In mathematics, the number 8 is symbolic of perfection and infinity. In golf, it can mean a number of things. A number to definitely keep off the scorecard, for starters. Or in this case tonight, equal to the number of consecutive appearances on Europe's Ryder Cup team and orders of merit won by this evening's next inductee. Glasgow-born Colin Montgomerie is hailed as the European Tour's premier player of the 1990s, and this evening becomes a member of the World Golf Hall of Fame. Presenting Colin tonight is the Chief Executive of the European Tour, Mr. George O'Grady.
As Chief Executive of the European Tour, it's simply an enormous pleasure to introduce Colin Montgomerie as a new member of the World Golf Hall of Fame. At a press conference in London last December, when Colin's induction was announced, I was asked to sum up Colin in one word. Now, as baseball lovers in the audience will appreciate, that really was a curveball. But to sum up Colin Montgomerie in one word is nigh impossible. In many ways, Colin is the European Tour, and he's played a crucial role in the success and sustained growth of our tour.
He loves it! His first Volvo PGA Championship.
It's well chronicled that he won the Harry Vardon Trophy 7 times in a row in the 1990s, before adding an 8th in 2005, along with over 40 worldwide titles. When winning the Scottish Open in 1999, with a closing round of 64 at Loch Lomond Golf Club in Scotland, Michael Campbell, the US Open champion in 2005, said, "It's impossible for any golfer to be in contention on tour every week, unless, of course, you happen to be Colin Montgomerie." Now, I could recite all of Colin's golfing achievements, but frankly, that's unnecessary. It's additionally for his leadership, recognition, and influence in the worldwide game that makes him such a worthy addition to the World Golf Hall of Fame. He's brought passion, determination, drive, and commitment to his career, but above all, leadership.
The United States wins the Ryder Cup.
It was when Colin saw Seve Ballesteros and Bernard Langer locked in embrace at Kiwa Island in 1991 after Langer's missed putt on the 18th green, and both crying on each other's shoulders, that Colin remarked, "I knew from that moment that this was for me, this Ryder Cup business." And what a Ryder Cup record. Unbeaten in the singles in his 8 appearances with 6 wins and 2 halves, and an enviable record in the 4 balls and foursomes, achieved with so many different golfing partners before going on to captain the European team at Celtic Man in 2010, and leading them to that famous 1-point victory.
Could be worse.
Few also would forget his tee shot at the 18th hole at Valderrama in 1997. With the whole match in the balance, Colin hit a perfect 3-wood onto a difficult left-hand dogleg fairway. It was a shot that John Jacobs, the founding father of the European Tour, and himself elected to the World Golf Hall of Fame in the year 2000, described as a soft wedge shot with a 3-wood, achieved with pure perfection. But for conceding the match when he was on the green in 2, and would almost certainly have won the hole, Colin's Ryder Cup singles record would be 7 wins from 8 matches, with the final one halved. Everybody involved with the European Tour will share Colin's enjoyment in these accomplishments, as they do with all his other quiet achievements, which are largely come in the charitable areas, where he's founded the Elizabeth Montgomerie Foundation to support cancer care centres in Scotland, in memory of his mother Elizabeth and his guiding mentor, his father James. There will be so many people all around the world, and especially in Europe, who will join me in congratulating Colin on his election, and a richly deserved honour reflecting a wonderful career so far. They say life begins at 50, which comes on June the 23rd this year, for Colin Montgomerie. Colin, we just say one last thing to you tonight, and when I say we, I mean we from the European Tour and the tours around the world, specifically my predecessor Ken Schofield. We had great growth in the tour through the 1990s and the year 2000 and onwards. To Father James and Gaynor, your lovely wife, Ken, I, and everybody in the European Tour, we couldn't have done it without Colin Montgomerie. And I hope he's here.
Well, thank you very much, George, for those very kind words. Goes back a long way, and I appreciate them. This is the highest honour within the game, and I thank the committee for selecting me, along with fellow inductees in 2013, Freddie Couples, Willie Park Jr., Ken Schofield, and Ken Venturi, who we all wish a speedy recovery to. Thank you all for coming here this evening to celebrate what I think is the greatest game of them all, and I'm sure you all agree. A game that I started playing at the grand old age of 5 in Troon, Scotland. Mind you, in Troon, Scotland, that's about all you do. I must thank my father, James, here this evening for introducing me to golf. In fact, my older brother and my late mum all played at one stage to single-figure handicaps, and I'm often asked if I could play in any 4-ball, who would you choose? And my answer has always been to reenact the great family games between Dad, Mum, my brother, and myself. In fact, I'd like to tell you a story of how my career began. I had an interview with IMG to become a sports agent at Turnberry prior to the 1986 British Open Championship. The interview was to comprise of playing 9 holes with 2 executives, Peter German and Ian Todd. And it was on the back 9. There'd obviously something better to do on the front 9. And I drove out to the lighthouse at Turnberry, a few of you might have been there, to play 9 holes in a job interview. Now, a lot of you, as I, were really watching your P's and Q's in job interviews and not really concentrating on what was going on. And neither was I. And just played in, was talking to them about the position that I was going to hopefully accept in London office of IMG, under the auspices of Mark McCormick at the time. And didn't realise I was playing quite well. I never did, really. And I came back that day in 29 in the at Turnberry, and they both turned to one another and they said to me that you are not going to work for us, but we are going to work for you. And that was the start of my professional career. And that's how I met Guy Kinnings. He now heads up golf on a worldwide basis for the IMG Sports Agency and has been my manager for the last 22 years. I can't thank him enough this evening for his time, effort, and emotion that he has put into the management of myself. But it hasn't always been as straightforward as you think. One of my outings, arranged by Guy, was to meet President Ramos of the Philippines. On the plane travelling to this outing, Guy informs me that President Ramos is the most shot-at president in the world. And I was there to open a hole that the president had designed on his new golf course. It had a hill on it, and he had named this hole Montgomerie. The problem was I had to stand beside him for a series of photos. They weren't really very good, as I was glaring at Guy, who was safely embedded in the crowd. I must also thank tonight all my caddies, far too many to mention, individually. But one man led me to all 8 Orders of Merit titles, and I must thank him for my most successful 10 years of my career, and that is a guy, Alistair MacLean. I also would like to thank at this stage all my sponsors and affiliations that I've had and continue with, and the many friendships that these affiliations have granted me. It was a very fortunate time for me to join the European Tour as a member in 1988, because the man at the helm was fellow inductee Ken Schofield. He had the vision to expand our tour to the Middle and the Far Easts, and was so successful in gaining our members, including myself, opportunity to compete in the American majors and also your TPC. And although not quite capturing one of them, it gave me great confidence to take back home to Europe. I've always felt that travel to be a great experience in education, and designing courses all over the world has enabled me to observe many different cultures. It has been an honor for me to be given the opportunity of witnessing first-hand emerging nations starting to play golf, also giving me a thrill, leaving the range at the Montgomerie Dubai and watching so many local Emiratis participating in the game. And this is happening all over the world. Just look at the recent Masters tournament where we had a 14-year-old competing, and I say competing, not just playing, because he made the cut. And also we've just witnessed a 12-year-old competing in this year's Volvo China Open. I attended Houston Baptist University for 4 years and thoroughly enjoyed not only the golf but the entire experience of university life here in the States. And as I near 50, next month in fact, I will be spending the majority of my time here in America competing on the Champions Tour. And my wife, Gaynor, and I are so looking forward to the next chapter in our lives, traveling from Hawaii to Chicago and back here, obviously, to Jacksonville. I personally look forward to walking the fairways again with my good friends, Bernard Langer and fellow inductee Freddie Couples. Although the standard of golf at the recent Master tournaments has thrown me and leaves me with a lot of practicing to do to compete up against them. Now, I could talk all night about my experiences in the Ryder Cup. It was such an honor to represent Europe, and what a sporting contest it has become. As a player, I had many memorable matches, and I will never forget my debut, in fact, my first match at Kiowa Island in 1991. I was paired with Bernard Langer, and as the senior member of the team, he comes out and says, "Don't worry, Monty, I'll take the first shot." I thought this was great, because that means I don't have to do anything at all. I'll just watch him and perform and we'll do okay. Unfortunately, that first shot didn't go according to plan for Bernard, and he hooked it into North Carolina. We'd started the round in south, and I don't believe if that ball had been wrapped in bacon, Lassie the dog would have found it. Anyway, things were to improve for Bernard and I over the years, and we played 7 great matches together in Ryder Cup, winning 6 of them, and I can't wait to compete against the likes of him and Freddie coming up this year on the Champions Tour. But it's also not very often in Ryder Cup matches you get a chance to play a match against the world's number 1 and 2, Messrs. Woods and Mickelson. And that's what's happened to us in 2004 at Oakland Hills, when I was partnered with Padraig Harrington. And after me holding 6 putts in the first 6 holes, Phil Mickelson asked if I could have a look at my putter. I said, "Phil, I don't trust you." I said, "I think you're going to break it." And he says to me, "That is exactly what I was going to do with it." I would finish I would finish that story by telling you the result of that particular match, but I feel there are far too many Americans in the audience to tell you. It was one thing to play in the Ryder Cup, but another altogether to captain the side. And coming down to the last game and the last day was something not for the faint-hearted. These matches are so tense and so close that they have transcended golf and have become truly sporting events. And we all look forward to yet another encounter at Gleneagles Hotel near my own home in Scotland next year. It was an unforgettable time when I was asked to take the Ryder Cup out to see our troops in Afghanistan. The first time, I'm sure, that the iconic trophy has been transported in a Hercules, a C-17 and an Apache helicopter on its way from London to Camp Bastion. To be able to leave clubs, balls, practice mats out there to allow the guys and girls of our armed forces to play golf, albeit on a sand rifle range, although not quite at the same time. There are no words after that trip that describe my respect and admiration for our troops and yours alike and the work they do. Although I have never won a major, coming runner-up 5 times, my major in life will be without doubt the opening of 2 cancer care centres in Scotland, named after my late mum. Raising to date $6 million, which enables both centres to open this year, providing care for tens of thousands of patients and leaves a lasting legacy for my mum. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been a humbling experience for me. I'm very proud to be standing here in front of you this evening, and I thank you all for coming and wish you all the best. Thank you very much indeed.
Coming up,